everybody. It's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies. And today we're actually doing a review of a movie. A movie that came out in 2013. And Marco will provide you with the name of the movie because somehow he discovered it through hearing about how funny it was. So, Marco, what is the name of the movie that we just watched?
It's Fateful Findings.
And to me, even the title is odd. What were the findings that were fateful?
The black cube and the jewels.
But why, if fateful, it sounds like they're going to die.
Yeah.
But I guess there was a death, and it was the guy's wife.
Fateful Findings sounds like a mummy movie. Like where they find the mummies and then the mummies kill them or something.
Well, that's another thing. But it's still, you think about somebody getting killed or dying. And basically, in the story, they find this magical thing, which was a cube, in a mushroom box in the forest, which looks like it was below Yosemite. This big monument type of a structure, geological structure, and he got hit by a car and he was saved by it somehow. And anyway, basically it's kind of a love story, but it's not really, there's not that much to that either. It's very basic. The movie is so basic, and like I said, when we talked about it, it's like somebody's project piece, like a piece of pottery or ceramic that they did in a class. And then, because it was pretty good, they sold it.
So you're saying it's like a film school project?
Yeah, but it's a project piece.
But that would be the equivalent for film. It would be a film school project. So, well, I thought that the movie was quite entertaining. Like, it was definitely a lot more entertaining than the Batman and a lot of other new release movies we've watched. Like, Jurassic World was just so horrible. This was a million times better than Jurassic World Dominion. So there's that. Like, Safi, wouldn't you much rather watch this than the Batman again?
Yeah, the Batman was a piece of crap. Sorry, but it was.
Yeah.
And this movie was, because at least they're honest about themselves, about who they are. They're not pretending like there's some fantastic movie that everybody should automatically love and give it a 10 out of 10 and say it was the best thing they've ever seen in their whole lives, which is a bunch of crap when they say that about some of the things we have watched this year. TV episodes and movies alike. And they're more honest about themselves, even though it wasn't, that great. The director, like I said before, when he would talk, because he was in the movie, he was like the main character.
Which, let's start off, it's not inherently bad that he wrote it, directed it, and acted it.
I'm not saying
there's
that
nothing
either.
wrong with that at all.
I'm not saying,
like,
he just was playing a part. And he wasn't putting any effort into it.
Yeah.
It was like he was there to provide when you're practicing your lines and you're on the stage with somebody else and you're practicing, so you're going back and forth because you're kind of trying to develop a rhythm and how you're going to sound and look to each other. And he was like a sounding board to the other actors when they were doing their parts.
He was like a bookend.
Yeah.
You know, like those Goosebumps bookends that we have with the Curly the Skeleton. You know, you have all these Goosebumps books, and in order to make them so they don't fall over, you put that book stopper at the end. It's like a statue thing. And that's what he's like. He's just like a generic book statue. And in terms of acting, though, everyone was pretty bad. I would say the worst acting, besides him, came from the people at the beginning who were concerned about him getting run over by a car. They were terrible, and you could tell that, like, you know, at least he didn't put them in main roles. Like, he didn't say, okay, they're going to be the main characters. Like, at least he didn't do that. But everyone was terrible. Except for, I would say, he had a wife. And her name was, I don't know her name. Her name is Russian wife. And she did a pretty good job in terms of, compared to everyone else. She was a lot better than everyone else, including him. And in terms of his character, one of the problems with this movie, of the many problems, is that there's a very flawed morality where, for instance, you have the girlfriend of this one girl who's the friend of the Russian wife, and she has a husband and a daughter, and the daughter's a weird character. She's a teenager, but she wants to have sex with he looks like an alien. She wants to have sex with an alien. Like, so she's weird, and, but the wife won't have sex with her husband, and she treats him like crap, and she just sits there and sneers at him, which is what Safi said, and she had fake boobs, too.
Oh, God.
Like, there's so many fake breasts in this movie.
Oh, I know.
It was very bizarre.
It was really obvious, so I don't know what the point of getting them is.
And Safi pointed that out. I didn't even notice,
I
but
could
Safi
tell.
pointed them out.
It was terrible.
We know someone who got fake breasts,
Yeah.
and it's very noticeable. It's kind of like when you get a pencil and you put like a giant eraser on top, and like a shaped eraser over the top of the pencil. Like, you can't convince people that you bought the pencil with that giant shaped eraser on top of it. No, you put that eraser on top of the pencil. You can't convince someone otherwise. So so she kills him. She kills her husband, and she makes it look like he committed suicide. But then there's this whole plot talking about like these evil corporations and evil government people, and it's like, wait a second, what about you? Like, what about you yourself? Like, the message should have really been like, these people need to worry about themselves and not worry about these quote-unquote government people who don't have like any plot, they're not relevant to the story at all. That was completely unnecessary, in my opinion. Unless they could have had some plot about just the government's corrupt because they want to get his cube, and so they want to steal it from him somehow. I guess they could have done that, something like that.
They didn't, though.
No, because the writer wasn't very good, and the writer was also the director and star, so he's not creative.
No, he's just, I don't know. To me, it was a project that you're serving yourself. Like, oh, I have the money. I got the money. I'm going to do a project like this. But he doesn't really. He's not really. He shouldn't be allowed to have one if he couldn't do better than this. I mean, I guess Marco really thought it was hilarious.
Well, his acting was very funny.
And yeah.
Like, there's these parts where he smiles. Like, they have... the editing is terrible, too. Like, the way that they'll just cut from one place all the way to another place without any transitioning or anything. Like, it's very hacky, sloppy editing. And one of the things that he would do a lot was he would have these extreme close-ups of people's faces, including his own. And the way that he smiled was so fake and phony that to me it was reminiscent of Terminator 2. Remember that, when he teaches him how to smile?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like...
That was funny.
It's like this very fake smile. That's how this guy actually smiles. Like, he has these like little smiles, and it's really creepy and weird. But it's funny. And then I would say my favorite scene of the film was his first therapy scene.
Uh,
where he's sitting in this like college meeting room, and the colors are horrible too. Like it's like purple and orange, very like harsh colors, and not comforting at all. And he's sitting across this giant table. Safi, talk about the table.
it's
Talk
like a
about
long, have you ever been in a meeting room and it's really for a big, probably for a big company? It's a long rectangular table. It looked like Knights of the Round Table, only it was a rectangular table. And the therapist would sit on one side, and then he, the main character, would sit on the other. And like I was telling Marco, I used to work for a mental health clinic. I typed almost all of their visits with their clients because I was very fast, since I could churn them out like crazy. Because back then we were typing on IBM Selectric typewriters with the little backspace key that erased the letter you just did, and that was what I was typing. They were actually really not pleasant to type on, and anyway, they're usually in a very intimate setting where the room is small and they're sitting closer to each other. So I think psychotherapists can assess their mood and when they talk, like, are they lying, are they telling the truth about how they feel. And then of course the client can assess, is their psychiatrist or psychotherapist, are they really listening to them, or are they just fake and just taking their money? It's a more intimate setting. This thing was like they're miles away from each other, and the guy would be in his little robotic voice, like, I'm the sounding board, just do your little thing, and I'll just talk in a monotone voice.
Well, even as a director, like, would you want to be directed by someone like that who like just sounds like a text-to-speech robot?
Well, I guess they just wanted a job.
Yeah.
But even therapists, I mean, they're trying to sound like a therapist with different inflections in their tone, and he would be talking like a robot.
But that therapy scene, the first one, like the guy says something like, you did great with your first book, and I'm going to help you with your next book. And
What the hell are you talking about?
And what's going on with you right now? And he just sits there and he's like, I'm feeling not very stable. And then he leaves. And he leaves right after that. And it's just so bad. Like, that was the funniest part of the film, because it was just such a... there are so many moments like that were jarring moments, where he would do something and then it would be over. Like the thing with... let's talk about his Russian wife, because she's a very important piece of the movie, even though he treated her character like dirt. She was a pill addict, and then he confronts her, and I guess she just gets over it.
I don't know. I didn't even know she was... I thought he was the one with the problem.
No, remember she dug through the toilet in the beginning?
Yeah, I know.
She liked putting her hand in the toilet to get those Tylenol pills.
Yeah, he threw his pills there.
They looked like Tylenol.
She picked them out of the toilet and
yeah.
Oh God, there was some gross stuff in here.
Yeah.
For being kind of a...
the grossest part was seeing him naked, though. That was the grossest part.
Oh God.
But, like, even the way that he... Like, it's fine if it fits the story, but even the way that he lit himself, like, he lit himself so that his skin would look like the grossest possible. Like, he looked like a piece of rotten old deli meat. Like, his skin just looked so gross, and he couldn't have bothered to, like, make himself look good. Like, you'd think that he'd want to make himself look good in the film, but he just doesn't. Ugh. Like that scene where he's in the garbage room with the cube room. Let's just call it the cube, because that garbage bag room, it was essentially symbolic for inside that black cube.
And I didn't know that during the whole movie.
I figured that out.
Well, it makes sense to me what you said.
And
So
just the way that he looked in there was so gross. And it's like, but essentially, the thing with the pills, that was just laying the groundwork to get rid of her, basically.
yeah, so he could be with his true love of his life, the little girl who sat under the tree
And help with the mushroom.
and help get the little cube out of the mushroom. And she had to move away or something because maybe her dad got a job, I don't know, and they never saw each other again. Except one day, he's married and she's engaged. They come across each other.
Yeah, at a pool party.
Well, no, they came. Well, he didn't really know.
Well,
but
they didn't know. Yeah,
After his accident, she was a doctor,
she was a neurologist.
and she came in there into the ER room. But you didn't know. I knew it was her because she had on. When they
She had
this,
that bracelet.
when they found this box, it was next to a pile of very pretty little colored stones, and they were all the same size and shape. And it was not something you find naturally in any forest on the planet. And like somebody had put them there or something. Anyway, she took them, made a bracelet, and she said that on camera. I'm going to make a bracelet out of these. And so years later, they're in the ER, and you see this woman, and she has a bracelet with all these different stones. And that was her. So, but I don't think he saw that, because he was out of it then when she came in there. So he didn't know yet that she had shown up finally. So.
But later on, we talked a lot with Better Call Saul how instead of servicing the story, they're servicing Kim, who's the main female character. At a certain point, they started doing that because they're so in love with the actress. And they even said that in an interview. They said that the show would have been drastically different if not for that actress playing Kim. So they're servicing her and not servicing the story.
It's weird.
And with this, it felt like this guy, he's servicing himself and not servicing the story. And the biggest instance of that in this movie was that he really wanted to hook up with the blonde. So there's this whole part where his wife commits suicide by taking pills. And at the same time, he's having sex in the forest with that blonde woman. Like, he's having an affair with her. Like, as soon as he knew it was her, he was ready to have an affair. Like, he wouldn't sleep with the teenager, thank God. It's not Lolita. But he did want to sleep with that blonde woman. And so he's sleeping with her while his wife commits suicide.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to like his character. And it's like, I don't understand that. Like, his character sucks. Like, what a trash character. And then she breaks off her engagement even though she doesn't even know if that guy is still the same anymore, like he was when he was a kid. So she is also pretty bad. And he doesn't even mourn his wife. He doesn't even care at all. Like, as soon as she's dead, what he does is he calls up someone on the phone and he says, "My wife is dead." And then after that, the blonde moves into the house.
Yeah.
Like, she moves in 2 seconds. And so, it's fine if he wanted to hook up with the blonde, but he could have at least done it respectfully, where it made sense to the story. You could have had it where time passes, they show time passing, he's mourning his wife, and maybe he's not sure about hooking up with the blonde, and then he eventually does. And it could have been a lot more respectful like that, but it felt very gross and disrespectful the way that he did that whole story. And so it's like, why do I care about these corporations and about these business people who are evil, quote unquote? Why would I care about them when this main character in this film is such a dirtbag? Safi?
I know.
I mean, wouldn't you agree with that? Like, wouldn't you say that was an issue? Like, they treated his wife like they treated Black Widow and Avengers Endgame.
I don't know. It was just really weird. And the thing is, she had the other lady who was in it with the, I don't know what you would call it,
The
dumb
girlfriend.
daughter. Yeah, he's supposed to be her girlfriend, and so here she commits suicide.
And she doesn't care.
Well, they don't show anything. Like, I don't think he even told her.
I don't.
It was
I don't
just
think
like
so.
another day of the week, and
Yeah.
oh well, we just had dinner and it's over.
She was a pill addict anyway. Who cares?
She's gonna have pills for dinner. I don't know. It's just some odd thing.
It was better than anything he ate. Like, did you see him eating that spinach?
Oh
The
God.
the plate of leaves.
He ate raw spinach.
That was so gross. I've done that before, and it's really gross. I will say, though, that if you'd like to eat greens like that raw, my favorite greens that I've ever eaten would be purple kale. I think that purple kale is actually pretty tasty, even if it's raw and all by itself. I did that before, and I actually really liked the purple kale. But spinach, just a plate full of spinach like he's Popeye or something. So, another point would be the fact that you can tell this guy is not creative by the way that the people are dressed in these dull, boring clothes, and the way that people talk, the dialogue in the script, dull and boring. And even the sets, like these houses, like he's got money to get interesting locations, but instead he picks these really boring houses where they're just everything. The set design is so ugh, and it's very reminiscent of The Room, made by Mr. Disaster Artist guy.
Nah.
You know, the way that that movie was designed, the set, the way it looked, it was terrible. And it was boring and dull. And it just shows that, you know, there's some people and they're not creative enough to do everything. And maybe with this guy, maybe what he should have done was gotten another person or people to help him who are also creative and want to make a movie. And those people could have helped him design more interesting sets, get more interesting clothes. I mean, don't you think he could have gotten better clothes at the bins?
Oh yeah.
Like the Goodwill bins, he could have gotten some interesting clothes, interesting things to put in his sets. And instead, it's like a furniture commercial. A bad furniture commercial. And the plot, I don't even know what the plot is. Because the whole movie, he's hacking into government secrets. But at the core of the movie, you have these shitty people who are shitty themselves. So who cares about the government secrets? What do you have to say, Safi?
I don't know. That government secrets things, I think that was just a little side thing.
That's how the movie ended, was all the people committing suicide.
Yeah, all the
business
people who were head of these big government projects.
Like the president of the bank.
And it was all different. Everyone did it in his or her own version of what suicide means to them. Yeah, I mean, you had every single different kind.
Which is nothing like that. You know, there's actual video footage of this one politician in the 80s. and this one person made up a bunch of stuff about them, that they were corrupt and did all these things, and so he thought that he was going to prison, and he held a press conference, and he killed himself in front of the whole press conference. And there's footage of that. I've seen the whole thing.
Wow.
And it's nothing like what they did in this movie at all. And you just have to think, like, why didn't the guy who made this movie take just a little bit of effort to look that up and to do research? Because he's so big into doing research in this movie. Like, I don't want to write a book. I want to do research. And he can't even do, like, that minimal amount of research. Safi,
Yeah.
what was your favorite part of this movie? Because my favorite part was that first therapy scene where he says, I am feeling unstable. And then he leaves. What's your favorite part?
Like I said, the beginning of the movie with that boy and girl in the forest in Yosemite was straight up in the air. So it people must look like ants from that monument. But they were under this tree. It was a boy and girl, and they found that box, and everything disappears too. It just vanishes. That's another thing in the movie. This technique they used in relationship to that little cube, because it was a healing cube. Every time something happened, and they would show something just vanishing, and then it would reappear somewhere else, and that was following something about the cube, but they were related. So I don't know how exactly, but that's all I could get from.
Well, what was your least favorite part of the movie, Safi? Like, what was the worst scene in the whole film out of all the bad scenes?
That teenage girl coming on to him.
Oh, when she yeah, that whole sequence, that was all out of place.
She was his wife said, and I guess I missed it, but he said she could come over there because this is her best friend's daughter, okay? So they're next door. And she said she could come over any time and she could swim in their swimming pool. And she said, okay. So she came over there, and she told him, you know.
No, she got in the pool. She took off her top. She stood in the pool for a second, and then she left. And you have to think, Safi, my opinion is that the actress said, I don't want to be in this pool for very long because there's all this shit at the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, the pool was filthy.
It was so gross and filthy.
That wouldn't happen either.
Yeah, people take care of their pools.
Well, plus the fact this is for a movie.
Yeah.
And everything would be, I mean, the kitchen was spotless. Everything else was spotless, but the pool was filthy.
Ew.
It had weird leaves and dirt in it.
It looked like maybe the main guy, he took a bath in there, and all of that stuff just came off of his body.
Ew.
You know, like, because he's like some weird alien creature. Like, he would be the perfect person for, like, Star Trek to be like the leader of the Borg, or if you did like another Goosebumps Stay Out of the Basement, like where he's the plant clone, like he would be perfect for that. But in my opinion, I really think the actress, like maybe the scene was written where she goes swimming in the whole pool and she swims around in circles and does laps. But I think that the actress was so grossed out by the pool that she didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so he had to like write in something else where she goes to take a bath. And
at his house.
Yeah.
And then she comes on to him.
Yeah.
And then he just is so terrible at acting. No, we do not need any more of that. I'm like, oh, God. I think she had fake boobs too.
Really?
Huh.
How do you know?
I think you can just tell.
Really?
Why?
How would you rank the fake boobs in this movie, Safi?
Pretty low on the totem
No,
pole.
how would you rank them side by side? Like,
I don't know, Marco. You can do that if you want. I'm not doing that
You
kind
do
of
it.
ranking bullshit.
you do it.
I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know. Let's just keep moving along. Okay.
Well, who had the best boobs?
You do, Marco. Let's get asking me about ranking things. I get so sick of it. It's some kind of millennium thing. They like to rank everything. Let's move on. But I can't help it. I mean, people talk about getting these things, and I don't care because it does cost money, and also if they bust, literally,
if someone
break.
sticks a pin in them and they just start squirting fluids.
no, that they will leak inside, and you can get a massive infection. They can be dangerous. I mean, it's not a joke. It's a serious.
Well,
It's a serious issue.
I was gonna jokingly say that the main guy had the best boobs
No.
because there's this one scene.
Yeah.
There's this one scene where he was like so proud of his nipples that like he only ripped off like a portion of his shirt just so that you could see his right nipple, and he kept on holding that shot for like a whole minute, an entire minute, where he's gonna have sex with the boring blonde. And the movie ends with him and the boring blonde going off into the forest again.
Yeah, they go back to their place in Yosemite.
Yeah.
To their special tree.
And then he kills her like that Brian guy.
He doesn't.
Brian and Gabby.
Oh,
You know.
Marco.
That would have been a dark ending, like where he's just like, he just ends up killing her because he was such a terrible person. Like he was so unlikable, and that leads me to say my least favorite part of the movie was definitely when he did that, where he had sex with that blonde woman, and then his wife committed suicide. Because it was like he just completely disposed of her as a character. Like it was like he crumpled her up and he tossed her in the trash. And I thought that was horrible of him. Is there anything else to say, Saf? Oh wait, no. The last thing is, he had that black cube, and it was sort of established that black cube gave him magic powers.
Healing powers.
Healing, teleportation,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I forgot about the teleportation.
Well, that was weird too. You know what else could have happened too with that?
I don't know.
He could have gone to the friend of his wife and he could have gotten her to loan him her gun. Or she could have come with him to shoot off those locks. He wouldn't have had to teleport in there.
Oh.
But what bothered me was that he could have healed his wife. Even though she committed suicide, I guess he could have given her that cube and it would have healed her. So it was like really like his desperate attempt to get rid of her so he could hook up with the boring blonde.
Yeah.
Anything else, Safi?
No,
From you?
I like those sounds. It sounded like
The
it reminded
whooshing.
me- some kind of whooshing.
Whoosh.
And then you see movement of the curtains or swaying of curtains.
The
or
drawers
whatever.
open, the mirror shook
Yeah,
around.
the mirror stuff, yeah. And it reminded me so much of Twin Peaks.
What are those, the ghosts of like movie makers from the past who are telling him like, no, please listen to us, you should do things differently, this movie's gonna suck really badly.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Whatever, I'd never heard another movie or TV show imitate those sounds that they do in Twin Peaks that make it very intriguing.
Even Queen of Hearts.
Mysterious.
Even that fan film that we watched, that didn't have any, like, whooshing, I think.
No.
Like that. Like,
No.
similar to that.
I've never heard anything like that except Twin Peaks. And that's why it reminds me so much of it, just because of that sound.
Well, what would you rate this movie in terms of food, Safi?
Oh, God. Well, I kind of rank it as one of these fake flavors of ice cream where it looks really good and it has elements in it that kind of taste good, but mixed together it isn't good in the final product. And you're like, what is this? Why is it like this? And that would be this movie. You say the same thing. Why are they doing this? What does it mean? What is it? It doesn't make any sense because there was not much to this movie. It was so basic theme. Kids fall in love as kids. She moves away. They don't see each other. Somehow later in life, some event happens where they get thrown into the basket together.
But then there's all the supernatural crap, too.
Yeah, with the magic box, the magic mushroom, and the pretty little stone necklace.
The disappearing, the psychiatrist who disappeared for no reason.
That's right. Even the magic cube can make people disappear.
Very weird.
And that part didn't make sense at all.
No explanation at all.
I didn't get that at all.
It's almost like he's just so full of himself. He was like, oh, I can just do anything in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's all going to be great because I did it.
Yeah.
You know, like when I won't say the equivalent, but you know, like when somebody who's really bad at art draws like a picture and then they're like, look, I did art.
Yeah.
I did drawing.
It's like, I did a movie. This is my movie. Look at it. Isn't it nice?
He goes to his like 90-year-old parents in the nursing home and he puts it up on the big screen for them and he says, look parents, I made a movie.
And that sounds just like him too. That's what he sounded like.
Yeah.
Just what Marco just did.
What you reminded me of was the Steak and Shake meal I had last week. Well, I watched the finale of The Old Man. And, you know, this was way better than The Old Man, by the way. What I got at Steak and Shake was 2 chili dogs, a small fry, which I don't really eat all the fries, but they kind of supplement eating the main thing.
Especially if it's no good.
And then I got a banana shake. And the chili dogs were pretty good, but they're good in like a very junky way where they taste like low quality chili dogs. Like you could definitely get better from like Sonic, Dairy Queen.
McDonald's.
You can't get chili dogs at
No,
McDonald's.
you can't get chili dogs. I thought you meant the French fries.
No, the French fries are okay. Actually, they were pretty good. And so it's all kind of junky, and it's kind of like what this movie is, where you know that it's like this entertainment where it's like I'm begrudgingly saying this is a great movie because it's so bad that it's good. But then the problem is that with that you have the banana shake, and I held off on getting the banana shake for years because I thought at Steak and Shake it's going to taste very artificial, and that's what it tasted like. It was a very gross artificial flavor, and it was so ugh. And that's what this movie really was. If you take everything out of it, all the laughs that you get from the main guy going, I am feeling not very stable. If you remove all of that, it's this artificial, boring banana shake. Something that could be really good if it was made by somebody creative, or him and other people, but instead it's not.
No.
So, this is the final thing, Safi. You're going to be very surprised by this.
Okay.
As well as doing all the other things that we have to do, like MasterChef tonight. We have to watch a shitty MasterChef episode. As well as doing all that, this is going to be the start of a new week, Safi! Isn't that surprising?
Yeah, what week would that be?
Bad movie week. Movies that are bad, made by bad people who aren't creative. So the next movie will be The Room. You will get to watch the movie that they based the Disaster Artist making of off of. So you're going to get to see Tommy, the Tommy, in The Room with the other actors. And you're going to love it. And it's going to all culminate in you and me watching the Blu-ray of Amityville Karen.
Why would we be getting a Blu-ray?
Because I asked him in the comments, and he's so out of it that he doesn't even have an idea of when it's going to come out on the streaming services. So there's basically no way to watch it unless you get the shitty ass Blu-ray. So, anyways.
Okay, well, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up. And please become one of our subscribers. We welcome new subscribers because we like to hear your comments, whether they agree with us or not. Because I don't expect you to agree, because everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I hope that you realize that when it comes to other parts in life too. And that's it. So goodbye.